Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a two-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.
Hey, good morning, my friends. It is starting to feel like summer here in Kingman, Arizona. Looks like we're going to top the 100-degree mark today. But that's okay. It is summer. If it gets too warm here in Kingman, what you can do, it's a matter of perspective. And I know I always pick on the folks down there in the Colorado River Valley, down at Needles, California, Lake Havasu, Bullhead City, Fort Mojave. But even for an old dry roasted nut like me, that desert country is a tad bit excessive. And, well, it'll be probably pushing 110 down in that country before today's over. But that's okay. My watermelons are coming in. Today we're going to have some fun. We got something different here. We're going to be talking with Chris Hill and Pete Thompson. Even if you're not a Route 66 fan, you're probably aware of the musical highway that was installed over near Albuquerque a couple of years back. It sure got a lot of media and press attention, and it sure got my attention. And we're going to be talking to the fellows behind that and their very ambitious their ambitious endeavor for the Centennial. Hey, Mr. Chris, how are you today?
Mr. Jim Hinckley, as I live and breathe, how are you?
Oh, you know me. Every day is good. Some are just better than others.
It's great to be here, man. I'm so pleased you invited us on.
Oh, it was my pleasure. This is a real treat for me because that project, it's an old idea, but it's a great example how you can take the marvels of science and simplistic things and repurpose them for a new generation and a new use. And this really intrigues me. So I'm really thankful that you take time from your schedule to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to talk to people who have a like-minded interest. And I think that musical roads, whether you've heard about them or not, as soon as you grasp the concept of what's happening, you're instantly hooked because it's such a cute little piece of physics and a little bit of mechanics that's making it work. And as soon as you get it, you really feel like you're involved. And I think that's what's special about the idea is it's so simple.
Yeah. Hey, for those, we won't get too fancy here, but I didn't know this myself until I did some digging this morning. But years ago, late 19th century, these music boxes, and most of us that's been in antique stores and museums have seen these. They were very popular, came in different sizes, and they played music with a perforated metal disc. And a little finger would pass over the holes, and each hole would be a different note. The term for that was a polyphon, but that's basically the concept of what we're dealing with here.
It's very close, yeah. If you consider that and again, you're right. We don't want to get too heavy in an early morning on a Sunday, but any music or any noise at all is just frequencies. It's just vibrations. And so if you vibrate something, and in fact, if you vibrate anything, it will produce the right note if you vibrate it the right amount of times per second. So, a cricket in a tree, it's vibrating its back legs together, and it does it at a very specific frequency. A guitar string, whichever one you pluck, if you vibrate that guitar string, it will give you that note. That's what happens. And it's just the amount of vibrations per second. And all we're doing is playing with that little theory. And as you drive down the road, you hit different sections of vibrations. So exactly as you drive down the road and you might stray and hit the rumble strips, that's just I don't know what the note is that general rumble strips play, but we mess with that theory. And so we can actually play the tune that you're expecting.
Yeah. And so a car basically becomes the tuning fork, I suppose.
That's exactly it. The car is the instrument, and you're sitting inside the instrument. It's like being inside the body of a guitar, and the feeling is incredible. The feeling is just incredible when you drive over the rumble strips.
Well, something I didn't think about until we were talking recently. Uh, it makes perfect sense. A light just came on in my head when you said this. The ideal vehicle for doing this is an electric vehicle
Yeah, it
because
is. It is because you have no vehicle noise from you've got no internal combustion engine that's getting in the way of the pure vibrations of the musical road.
even better. This is even better because I've been having a lot of conversations not only about the Route 66 Centennial, but the future of Route 66. And here's a blending of the two, just absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Pete and I have been working on this idea for many years now. The first one we did was just outside Albuquerque. I think you mentioned it. That was for a television show. Pete and I are both television producers, and we made that musical road for a show on the National Geographic Channel, and it was about getting people to slow down. Actually, that was on a stretch of road where speeding was a problem, distraction was a problem. And so the show was about just training people to be slightly better humans in the world, and just by little gentle nudges in daily life. And we came up with this, as you said earlier, it's not a new idea, but we came up with putting one of these musical roads there to try and slow people down a bit. And it was hugely successful, hugely successful. But our company now, Route 66 Musical Roads, is designed just to bring that to other people, just to spread that idea and that technology. And with the centennial coming up of Route 66 next year, it's a perfect time to try and get more of these on the roads.
Yeah, I fully agree. I was really surprised by the popularity of this. I shouldn't have been, but I was. It's become almost a cult classic for road trip people. I've kind of gotten into watching. I'm trying to learn about new technologies, and I'm always curious about what younger generations are doing. Short version, long story. I've been watching a series of Kara and Nate. They do a wonderful travel series, and they've got over 4 million followers. They're just and that was one of their quests. They were doing a cross country drive, and they set out specifically to find that. And I'm just surprised by how it's become a cult classic in such a short amount of time.
Well, I think that's it, and I think is it partly due to the internet? Things don't disappear on the internet, so any video that someone's uploaded from when it was done, we did that in 2014.
Yeah.
It's still there, and people think, "Oh, what's that cool thing? I'm going to go find that out." We're still in contact with a number of businesses in that area, and they still see an uptick in business simply by people trying to find that. They're traveling across the country, sometimes across the world. We're in touch with a great motel on Route 66 called Sunset Motel. I don't know if you know it. Debbie and Mike there. We're good
Yeah.
friends with them, and they're still in contact. And they say, "Yeah, we had some guys in last week. They were looking for the road." So it has that appeal, doesn't it? It really does have that appeal.
Yeah, Sunset Motel, Debbie Mike, that's a real treasure on the
Yeah.
road. That is, as far as I know, that is the oldest continuously operated single family motel on Route 66. I think his father built that in 59. So that's an attraction in itself.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt you on your facts there. I'm sure you're right.
So now you're wanting to do this in all 8 states along the Route 66 corridor?
That's the plan, yeah. So when we did this in 2014, it was just a one-off. It was just a thing for a TV show, and Pete and I, we do these projects and then we kind of move on from them. TVs are quite a transient thing. We do them and move on. But we turned around like 2 years later, and people are still riding this road. They're still trying to find it. They're still making a big deal out of this thing we just did for a TV show. So we thought, we can work with this. So we set up a company. We set up Route 66 Musical Roads. We thought, hey, look, Route 66 is the most famous road in the world. Why would we not call our company that? And now we didn't realize at the time, but the Centennial's coming up. So what perfect opportunity to try and get one in every state that Route 66 travels through. And we're at different stages of production with each state right now. We are actively making this happen. California is the most developed, and we literally just received an email from Oklahoma yesterday. So we're looking to we're looking to get one in every 8 states.
Excellent. I figured Oklahoma would be reaching out to you. I'd sent a note to Reese, and I just thought that he'd probably be, because they're quick about this. The other thing that's interesting, you're doing tunes like America the Beautiful, and what perfect timing, because it's also the 250th anniversary of the United States. And what better place to celebrate that anniversary than on the main street of America, Route 66?
Well, that's right. Yeah, there's a number of really good reasons to install a musical road. I mean, the obvious thing is speed and safety and driving at a speed that you would prefer people to. It's like a speed limit you'd like to follow, because if you don't, you miss the music. So it's a great speed limiter. We also like the idea that it's just signage, isn't it? It's like sonic signage along the road. But yes, there's birthdays coming up. There's the 100th year of anniversary of Route 66, 250th birthday of America. That's a big birthday, and we're here for it.
Yeah, this is really, really exciting. Oklahoma, I knew they would be pretty quick to jump onto this. Have you selected locations yet where you're thinking, or is it are discussions that far along yet?
Oh yeah, no. As I said, so we're in discussions with pretty much every state. California is the most advanced. We're looking at a place called Newberry Springs, which I'm sure you heard of.
Uh huh.
So we're looking at, and I visited the site there, Newberry Springs. We've got one of 3 locations, all within about a mile and a half of each other. And we're in very good conversations with the county there, San Bernardino County, and we're at the stage where we're about to start selecting songs. So we haven't selected songs yet. That's a very that has to be a very local decision. We can't come along and determine what the song should be. So that will go out to the local community. That they have to decide what the song is. Of course, the song has to work. It has to be able to work within the limitations of what a musical road can do. You can't have cymbal crashes and trombones.
No.
You can have notes that go up and down, and you can work from there.
Yeah. Well, by letting them select, doing that too, by handling it that way, you get community buy-in, that they feel that they become part of the project, and that's kind of important. Help build that sense of community.
Well, that's what we've said all along. Since we did the project in Albuquerque, it's always been about the community. It's always on the ground, the people you meet, whether the people are driving the road, whether it's someone who has a business along the road, they live there. It's always about the community. And that's what we found. And our whole ethos in the company is just to speak to the community first and take their advice. What is it they want to see? Where do they want to see it? Where can this best fit into the landscape? The thing I like to think about is that we're making the road itself talk. We're giving the road a voice, and I think that's really strong. So we have to be careful where we do that. But it's all about the community, and I've had such great fun just speaking to the people who live along the road.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And of course, I know there's been other musical roads, but because they're not on Route 66, they don't get the attention. They don't get the publicity. This highway is extraordinary. It's just absolutely amazing.
There's something special about it, isn't there? And you know more than I. It's it's a magical place, and it's a magical installation. As you drive across a musical road, I don't know how many of your listeners have, but it makes you smile, and it's something. It's like a form of entertainment that doesn't fail. So if you think of any other form of entertainment, whether it's a movie, a TV show, a restaurant, there'll be some people that like it and some people that don't like it, and that's fine. That's understandable. You drive across a musical road, everybody's smiling, and I think that's
Yeah, I've done a little bit of recent looking on YouTube and other places, and obscure, people that have post their videos, their cat videos and things. That I have yet to find anybody that hasn't been intrigued by this, that hasn't gone out of their way to look for it, to recommend it, and to encourage others to give this a try.
well, that's right. I think my partner in this, Pete Thompson, has finally got out of bed, and I think he might be with us.
Oh, excellent. Let's see.
Pete, are you there? I feel like the host.
Not yet.
Maybe he's not.
Ah, well, we'll get Pete here pretty quick. Hey,
The coffee's still brewing.
this is really, like I say, I'm very excited about this project. How do you go from television and film production to coming up with something like this?
That's a good question. Yeah, I actually did one of these before in England. I was working on a science show in England on the BBC. It was called Bang Goes the Theory, and it was the wedding day of Prince William and Kate. And I was working on this show, and the presenter, Jem Stansfield, came up with the idea. He'd seen one of these, I think, in Denmark, and we wanted to install the wedding march as a wedding present for the royal prince. And so we did that, and that was the first one I did. And so when I've been living in America for 15 years now. Pete Thompson, my partner, he was working on a show and got me in to try and work out our own musical road here for Route 66. So that's how I got into it. All of my TV work has been practical science, engineering, education, that kind of thing. So it's natural that this is a thing that I would tackle.
I'm not surprised you were working in England. Judging by your accent, I didn't think you were from Mississippi.
It's not a Jersey accent, yeah.
That's it. It's not a Jersey accent, no, sir. This is, but this there again. That's Route 66 is the international appeal. I find this really exciting. So, all 8 states involved. It's going to be kind of ambitious because we're getting close to kind of a countdown here.
Well, I'm thinking maybe we can knock 2 off at once because we're speaking to the chaps at Glen Rio.
Oh,
And that's obviously that straddles Texas and New Mexico. So maybe we'll have a stretch that goes across 2, so we can get 2 for 1.
There's a lot of reasons why Glen Rio would be interesting for this. People slow down it because it's a dead section of Route 66, if you will.
Right.
Like you said, it straddles the border.
Mm-hmm.
And the only business in New Mexico that is open that I'm aware of is a marijuana dispensary.
Well, it's curious you say that. That's who we're speaking to.
So that would add a different dimension. I think people's focus would be a little more intent on the musical road in Glen Rio.
Well, they have a very curious situation there where they have a stretch of musical road. They have a stretch of Route 66 that is perfect for a musical road that isn't actually a through road. They have a stretch that is a little piece that is just on its own. You turn down it and then you have to turn around at the end. It doesn't connect straight through. And so that's a perfect little testing ground for some crazy ideas. So we can do some quite interesting things down there.
Yeah, because that section that Glen Rio has a real interesting history, and that 4-lane section of Route 66 there in Glen Rio, where it dead ends at a dirt road, that used to be Route 66 that runs down to San Juan, but that would be ideal. there's another section like that where it's a dead end, truncated, paved section of Route 66 in Kingman, Arizona. In
Oh yeah.
fact, there's two. The Chadwick Drive section is a quarter mile long loop road. It comes off Route 66, and it was the original pre 1947 alignment, and now it's just a little paved curved road less than a quarter of a mile long that has very little traffic, and both ends are connected to the newer alignment of Route 66. And then outside of town, there's about a 4 mile section of pre 1937 Route 66 that dead ends outside of Kingman.
Ah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I love those little crazy little sections that are just out of the way and are not regular. We have an interesting idea where in a regular installation we will put the grooves on the right hand side of the road, so your right hand side tires will play the tune as you're driving. That leaves the left hand side tires, and we've thought it will be fairly straightforward to play a second track, so you can have almost a beat and a melody in, and that would be very interesting. And one of these out of the way stretches could be where we do that.
Yeah, and well, Glen Rio would be an ideal place to test that theory because, like you said, it's a great little 4 lane section of highway that basically goes nowhere, and
It's very well paved as well. It's in great condition.
yeah, yeah. And we have Pete with us this morning. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, everybody. I finally got in. I make musical roads much better than I do joining podcast, apparently.
Ah,
Hopefully.
don't. It is no problem at all. We're just glad you're with us. Glad you had. Thank you for taking time this morning.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I've been listening in. My microphone has not been working. I've been trying to speak for about 10, 15 minutes now, but I've been enjoying the program thus far. So
Pete's had
thank
a
you for
great
having me.
conversation with himself.
Yes, exactly. I second most of everything I hear already. Like, yes, yes, yes. I'm very agreeable. So
I have that too. I have something similar. I've been told I can tell these stories for hours, even if I'm the only one in the room, and still enjoy myself.
exactly. That's a talent, Jim. That's a talent.
This is good. The technology into this always amazes me. I'm basically modern Amish. Anything after Model A Ford's just I'm lost. So I'm always amazed that things work at all. Please don't feel bad. So Pete, you've traveled Route 66, you and Chris, and kind of scoped out some places, or
A bit. We hope to. I hope to plan another one later in the summer. A scout to kind of to take a bit of a drive to kind of reacquaint myself with some of the areas that I haven't been fortunate enough to visit. That's our plan for me personally later this summer, hopefully.
good. Well, we'll sure. Hopefully by then we should be. Hopefully you'll have all the contacts you need. And we were just talking about alignments that would work for this, like Glen Rio. And there's several alignments. Newberry Springs is ideal. There's a few others that pop into mind that would lend themselves well to this.
Well, Newberry Springs is very much on our mind. It's funny maybe I'm missing you'd already spoken a bit about that, but it's someone that is an area that we're very much in contact with and are greatly anticipating the next moves.
Well, Newberry Springs needs help, and this would be a boon. They have the Baghdad Cafe there, but well, they need a boost, and this would definitely help put them on the map, literally.
It would. The folks in Newbury Springs are so good. I went there. I went there and visited a few weeks ago, and they're just such salt of the earth people. They're really down to earth, and I really look forward to installing there because it's going to bring so much needed traffic through it. And it's is it? I think it's the I-40 that goes through there. Am I right there?
Yeah, I-40 and 66. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the classic story, isn't it? The big road comes through, and then people don't have a reason to get off the road and see all this stuff that's just sitting there. And we're looking to install actually right where the spring from Newbury Springs is, so that couldn't be more central to Newbury Springs.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. And that's another bonus we were talking about. Help, focused on building a sense of community. Something like this in some of these smaller places, like Newberry Springs, could really, really help bring the community together and give them a much, much needed boost.
Well, that's it. And I think when we applied, remember this the Route 66 Centennial Commission took applications for projects, and when we applied to be an official project, that's what we knew would carry us through that process. Is it's all about the local community,
Yeah.
and so we put that proposal together very carefully to make sure that we were protecting the local people's interests, and it was a very local centric idea. And bless Bill Thomas, you'll know Bill Thomas, but bless Bill Thomas, he has been our championing father, if you like, on this whole thing. He's just seen us through, and he'll make it happen. And Bill is our legend right now. But yeah, we're really enjoying this process, and being a Centennial certified project just makes it all the more special to us.
Excellent. Yes. Yeah. Bill Thomas, he's he's just a dynamo. He did marvelous things there in Livingston County with turning in Atlanta, Illinois. Just amazing things there. And I've worked with him for many years on a variety of projects. And yeah, so I am very glad that Centennial certification is more than just a name. It carries a lot of weight when you're trying to deal with the state and different entities.
It does. Tell me something, Jim. Does he ride that unicycle, Bill Thomas, or is he just in the back of his Zoom calls all the time?
I have never caught him riding that, but I have been told that he's been seen on the streets of Atlanta, Illinois on his unicycle. Okay. And he also has, I think it's a 38 or 39 Plymouth that he drives to work on regular occasions. He's a different sort of fella. We had a fella here in Kingman. This is deviating a bit, but we had a fella here in Kingman that it's kind of a funny story. Colorful characters are a big part of the Route 66 story. And this fella, when he had a bit of a drinking problem, and when he drank too much and didn't want to drive his car home from the bar because he was afraid he'd get a DUI, he rode his unicycle. Do with that as you may. A drunk unicyclist. I don't know what to say on that. But it was on Route 66.
Was it really? I'm bad enough on two wheels, or let alone one.
Gosh, this is very, very good project. Oklahoma, I'm glad they've reached out to you. You're going to keep the one in New Mexico. Are you going to do another project in New Mexico, or just let this one go?
Possibly, yeah. We're still very good friends with the DOT there. The DOT loves speaking to us wherever we are. The DOTs love speaking to us because the project is so different to what they normally deal with. So we're good friends with the DOT there, and we would love to either resurrect that one or install a brand new one. It's we can do either or both.
Well, I got an idea, something that just popped into my head. There's a section of Route 66 immediately west of Albuquerque. And of course, you want a low traffic corridor would be ideal for this. There's a section of Route 66 that parallels I-40 at the top of what they call 9 Mile Hill. And it's about a 5-mile stretch of Route 66. And there's Enchanted Trails Trading Post and RV Park is at the top of the hill. It's an actual 1940s trading post. And she also has a display of vintage travel trailers and Hudson automobiles. And as a bonus, the owner of that property is the organizer of the New Mexico Route 66 Alliance, and she's the president of the Route 66 Association of New Mexico.
Okay. Your knowledge never fails to amaze me. That's great.
That one, I'll put you in contact with Vicky. That might be a good section of road to do this on.
Okay, we're quite friendly with Melissa Lee.
Uh-huh.
She's yeah, New Mexico. She helped us in the first installation. She's still in contact with us about that. So absolutely.
Yeah, those that's just a thought. Gosh, this is wonderful. And your website, I have that here. When I post this today, I will have this as well. It's real simple. Route66musicalroads.com.
Yes, sir.
Can't get much easier than that. So
Yeah, that's
Pete,
right.
uh,
As I said earlier, when we were looking for a name for the company, you've got to pick the most famous road in the world, and it's an easy choice from that. I learned something new just last week about musical roads, and I thought I knew a lot about them, and that is that if you go on the internet and you start looking around, everyone goes to Wikipedia for their facts, and Wikipedia says that there was a couple of Danish artists in the 90s that that came up with a musical road. I think it was earlier than that, and I think this might be a bit of a world scoop. I think it was Walt Disney
Really?
that championed the first musical road in the 70s. There was a very small airport in Walt Disney World in Florida, and there was some grooves in the road that, when you drove over them, would play "When You Wish Upon a Star." And the idea was that as the planes landed, this is crazy, as the planes landed to bring people to Disney World, they would hear "When You Wish Upon a Star." I don't think it worked out as well as they thought.
that is, I love that. My pa always said, better to fill your head with useless knowledge than no knowledge at all. And I like that. That intrigues me. I'll have to
Well,
dig into that.
I've got to be careful with facts because I'm at the age where if a fact comes in, that means another one has to leave, and
Right.
I'm very careful with which ones I take in now because I don't want to lose an important one like walking or remembering to do things.
My head's like a file cabinet, just all loose things. Then somebody put the drawers in upside down, so everything's just kind of
They fall
scattered.
out when you open it. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
that kind of thing. Uh, I would. I really was. That was something I was going to ask you how old this idea was. And of course, Disney was a visionary, but he built on other people's ideas. I'm writing this down. I really want to check on that and pursue it. And I got a challenge for folks who are listening. If they know of any older attempts to make musical highways, I'd sure like to hear about it. I have a sneaking suspicion since a lot of these fellas, the older, like we started talking about the older music boxes, I have a feeling that somewhere in the distant past, some eccentric fella tried to do this in the 20s or 30s when they were first laying pavement. I just got a sneaky suspicion.
I wouldn't doubt that at all. Yeah. It seems like something that would be such an outlier thing at one time. Like you said, some eccentric that had the means. And I'd be
Yeah.
willing to bet there's a piece of old drive on some estate that if they uncovered it, they'd see grooves written and etched into the ground.
There was so much, so many visionaries, and some were eccentric. There were so many odd things being done at that
Mm-hmm.
time, similar to this. So I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I
Hey,
think you're right.
Pete, we were talking to Chris about this, but how did you get involved with something? I mean, television producing is a little bit removed from
Sure.
highway engineering.
Yeah, somewhat. It had funny enough, it had a lot of similarities, it turned out. Because I think both were a bit of like you're a detective just trying to find the next piece of a clue, and that's often the way a production gets put together. The way it come about for me, as Chris had mentioned earlier, we were doing a project for National Geographic. It was about behavioral science, and I was doing different sequences for the series all across the country, and this was a big piece. And I have to admit, at first I was a bit confused. I wasn't sure exactly what it really was. We were talking about this musical road, and I got introduced to Chris, and Chris had a bit of a background in engineering, and I was a bit mystified at first, as many people are at the onset. But yet I was tasked with helping, with getting it done. um, And then as we dug in, we started really rolling up our sleeves, and that opened up this whole new world for me. I come from a musical background as well, so I had there's there the theory was hitting me was hitting me my brain and awakening that sort of talent or background experience, and it kind of came together in that way. Uh, but initially, I think it was about how do we get it done? I mean, like the task at hand was how do you walk up to an administration and say, "Hi, I'm Pete. I'm from National Geographic, and I want to rip up a piece of one of the most famous roads on Earth." And and that's a big ask, I think. But it just like the little engine that could. We kept just as the community of Route 66, as we've already discussed. One person knows another person, and everyone's invested. And once that enthusiasm started to ignite, then as you started to meet the right people at the DOT. The next thing you know, I'm sitting in the governor's office, outside the governor's office's door to pitch the idea. And it was that groundswell of enthusiasm in a very grassroots kind of way that kind of ushered us forward. And I thought that it was a curiosity piece. Chris had, with the background that he had done in them, doing them in England, it was a unique thing to hear, and everyone was always at least open to hearing us out. And once people heard us out, what the idea was, then you saw a smile come across their face. Like, this is kind of cool. Let's try this. So that's kind of the long and short of it. I hope I didn't. I'm not
Yeah,
as.
no. That's great, Pete. That's see, the idea here is to inspire people, and
Yes,
this is an inspiring situation what you two have created here. If you have an idea, do something with it. The idea here is the whole point of this life thing is to make the world a little bit better than it was when we got here, to make people's life a little better, easier, make them smile. And this is a project that does that. As Chris mentioned, anybody who experiences this, it's hard not to smile.
oh yeah,
Even the search for the road outside near Albuquerque, people smile.
yep,
It's
I think what it does, it reminds us of let's be honest, we all love road trips. Road trips are just the coolest thing, and probably from our childhood, my childhood anyway. As soon as we were getting in the car and we are going somewhere, it was just great. And I think it fosters road trips, and that can't be a bad thing.
exactly. It brings people together,
ah
and in a way that I think is really unique. A road trip does that, and a musical road is a shared experience in real time. So if you're, if you're in a car and you have teenagers and they have headphones on, they're on a device. As you go over it, I guarantee you they will look up because they are going to experience it regardless if they have their headphones on in real time. It absolutely brings people together. Everyone makes eye contact and smiles within the carriage of a car as it's happening. I don't see a lot of things that do that.
no, and that we need that more than ever. But I'm a strong believer in this. This is one thing that's really I hate to use the term magical, but it is the magic of Route 66. Bringing people together, realizing that we have
Yes,
more in common than we do that separates us. And road trips, especially road trips that have quirks, little things like the musical road that will just get people to stop and listen and bring people together. That's priceless.
absolutely.
You know what might be kind of fun on this too is to ask people. It would be fun to get people together and start asking which vehicles work best to hear this. In other words, a Model T Ford. We mentioned electric vehicles as being ideally suited for this, but what vehicle is the best tuning fork? That might be kind
Ooh.
of fun to have people play with that.
That's a great question. I see my suspicion. I've never been fortunate enough to own a Bentley or a Rolls Royce, but my suspicion is a Bentley or a Rolls Royce would not be very good because it's going to be so well sound insulated. You might not actually hear it inside the cabin. I don't know.
Right. The air cushioning of the yeah, it could be very difficult. You're right.
The vehicle is designed to keep out noise from the outside, and effectively we're making noise through the suspension of the vehicle, so it might be terrible. Rolls Royces need not apply.
So, and a Model T would probably be terrible because they just naturally rattle so damn much that
That's it.
they're not. And then the other thing with a Model T, it'd be probably hard to get them to go fast enough to try to listen to the road.
Well, that's right. That might actually answer your question from earlier about what was the earliest known one, and it might be when cars got to about 50 miles an hour.
Well, then that still would be early because here's a little bit of that useless trivia we talk about. 1906, Stanley, one of the steam cars from the Stanley brothers, set a speed record at Ormond Beach, now Daytona Beach in Florida, and nearly 150 miles an hour.
What year was this?
1906.
What?
Really?
Yeah, surprising.
That is very surprising considering that, like, some early Ferraris topped out at like 60. So that's amazing.
Oh, they had a lot of amazing, like these cars at the speed. Being a name dropper, I was, and we're getting off topic a tad bit. I was over at Jay Leno's garage, and he has a Doble steam car. And about 1927, 28, these cars 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds was pretty common. The Duesenberg SJ, the supercharged Duesenbergs, they tested one at Bonneville, 146 miles an hour on an average for 24 hours back 32, 33.
Inspiration.
The bravery of the guys and girls that were driving those vehicles are quite impressive.
Oh, there's a fine line between daring and just nuts.
Yes, there is.
But that's anyway. Speaking of musical roads, though, this is an exciting project. And how can people get involved and help? I've got your website here, but what kind of help do you need from folks?
Well, absolutely, just send us a message. So you go on our website. There's a form there you can send us a message, and what's people's ideas? Like, what do they want to see and where? As I said earlier, this is all about the local grassroots community.
Yes.
Like, what is it that they want to see? If they're in the area, or if they're not in the area, if they were going to go on a road trip, what tune would you like to hear?
Mm-hmm. Where do you want to see? Where do you want it? And what do you want to hear when you're there? That's what we would love to know.
What is the ideal length of rumble strip section for this?
The ideal length is very much dependent on the location and the song you pick. It doesn't need to be a certain length. It doesn't matter what the length is, as long as it fits in the location. So, as you will very well know, there are some very long straight sections of Route 66 that you could go for a whole minute or two with a musical section if you wanted. It's only when you come to a bend that you don't really want to navigate whilst trying to keep your wheels on some rumble strips that you'd have to stop. So the length is only really affected by the location.
Very, very interesting. So, folks, you've got your homework assignment. Give this some thought, and please reach out to Chris and Pete. Fill their inbox with ideas.
Yeah, Route 66 musicalroads.com, and let's see what you think.
This is good. I'll be excited to follow your progress. And if you find yourself out on the road, let me know, and perhaps we can find a way for our paths to cross, because I'd sure like to meet you fellas.
I would love that. I'd love to have you out on an installation, Jim, and we can let the audience hear in real time
That would be
our progress.
Wouldn't that be fun? We could maybe get the local car club to come out wherever this is at, bring their cars, and let's do this in real time. Let's try this thing out and see what it sounds like in a 55 Buick or a Tesla.
Yeah, sure. Let's find out which is the best tuning fork. Let's see who made. It sounds like a great.
That's fantastic. Well, right now we're speaking to, we're very, very far down the road, pun intended, with California. As you know, we mentioned Texas, Missouri we're speaking to, Illinois, and now Oklahoma. So we'll meet you somewhere on the road for sure.
Kansas, do you have a contact there in Kansas? Have you found anybody to talk with yet?
I believe not.
Okay, well, I'll put you in contact with Pam Mitchell. She's Baxter Springs Chamber of Commerce and works really close with the Kansas Route 66 Association. And they've got a great section of road there that this would work on near the famous Rainbow Bridge. There's about a mile section of Route 66. They bypassed it because of the bridge. You can still drive on it, but they put in a new bridge next to the old bridge, and just below the bridge is a nice section of old Route 66 that this would probably work. Kansas, we're kind of limited because the whole Route 66 is only about 13 and a half miles long. So,
yeah, it would have the most percentage of Route 66 paved with musical section of the whole country. That would be great.
That's for sure.
That would be a marketing ploy and a half. The longest stretch of largest percentage of musical road anywhere on Route 66. Don't have to tell them it's only a quarter mile long.
Don't mention that.
That's
great.
a great idea. Missouri is very proactive. Rich Dinkla there with the Missouri Association is a real go-getter. And I'm already contemplating some great sections of road where this would just be ideal. It would just be such a wonderful addition. Do you kind of like jousting at windmills, I suppose, like the old Don Quixote thing. This is a big enough project for you. And I know this isn't your full-time job, but do you have plans to take this beyond Route 66?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier the 250th birthday of America. We're speaking to my home county of Putnam County in New York, and we have a large historical presence here about the Revolutionary War and everything that went on back then. And there's lots of historical sites. And we're speaking to the tourism department here in New York about a section that will play Yankee Doodle.
Oh, that would be, yeah. You've unleashed my imagination. I have to keep a tight rein on that, but I can see some. Yeah, my Merry Oldsmobile could be done. It was a 1902 song that was extremely popular. Could be done somewhere around East Lansing, around the R.E. Olds Museum, something of that nature.
There are so many great sites there. And as I'm driving around now, it doesn't matter where I am. I think, oh, that'll be a good stretch. Oh, that'll be a nice stretch. You know, I can't stop myself.
Yep.
No, you're a man of my own heart, both of you. Once you start down this, pardon this pun, but once you start down this road, there's no turning back. Next thing you know, it becomes a mild obsession. And, well, yeah.
And then here we are.
Here we are. Guys, thank you so much for taking time this morning from your schedules. But thank you for your dedication to this project. This is pretty darn exciting. Pretty darn exciting.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, we'll take this forwards, and as we said, let's see you next time on a road driving across one of these.
Yeah, we'll be sure to check in often with you to keep.
Please do anything I can do to help. And before we button this thing up this morning, if anybody's got any questions, please jump in. But speaking of technology, we're going to do something different next week. I only half joke about being modern Amish. I didn't even own a cell phone until about 10 years ago. And I still was using at the house a Leave It to Beaver avocado green rotary dial phone until just recently. So technology is a challenge for me. But since I'm going to be gone next week, I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to be at the AAA Route 66 Road Fest in Tulsa. And perhaps I'll see some of you there. I've created next week's program. It's already uploaded. I did an entire virtual co-host conversation about the prehistory of Route 66 and a new Route 66 anthology that's coming out. And it's all AI generated. 100%. The people, I'll tell you ahead of time, the people aren't real. So don't try to ask them questions next week. They probably won't answer. At least I hope they don't. But it's a fully generated program AI. And the week after that, we're going to be talking with Tasha O'Neill from the Historic Electric Vehicle Foundation and have some fun. History of EVs and development of the new the Electric Vehicle Museum, which will be along Route 66 in Kingman, Arizona. It's an embryonic museum. They've got a small collection on display at the Powerhouse Visitor Center in Kingman, but they've purchased some buildings and they're moving forward. They've got about, I understand, close to 200 cars they're wanting to display. So that should be a lot of fun. And then a couple other things I've got coming up. We're going to go to Las Vegas, probably around the 13th of July. The original Las Vegas, New Mexico. And this is a town that I really am passionate about. Imagine a town of about 12, 13,000 people that has something like 2,000 buildings on the National Register of Historic Places. And the main street is literally the Santa Fe Trail. Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And I've got Richard Lintonello. We're getting that set up. He is a passionate automobile enthusiast, does a lot of hands-on work, and he was the editor at Hemmings Motor News for many years. And he's gone independent, started a beautiful magazine called Crankshaft. And we've got him coming up as well. Do we have any questions for folks here? Let's see what we've got here. Chris, I've got a question. Do you have kind of an exact location east of Albuquerque where the road is at?
Yeah, so the original one that we did in 2014 was just to the west of a small town called Tijeras. And it's further away from Albuquerque than it is from Tijeras. And I'd say it's only about half a mile from there. So it's Route 66, just west of Tijeras.
Okay. I'll get the exact coordinates and directions, folks, and I'll have that up for you. You mentioned, I also have a question here, the Newberry Springs section. It's still in discussions, but do you have an idea, time frame on when that would be coming together?
We've been speaking to them for quite a while. As you know, America is made up of different states, and each state is very, very different to deal with. It's very much like dealing with a different country, depending on who you speak to, and regulations are very different. California is quite high with its list of regulations, so we are delving through that at the moment. We are wading through the regulations in California, but I would say at least by the end of the year we will have something very concrete down there.
Yeah, pun intended.
I was just going to say, thank you, Pete. When you start dealing with state governments and then they got to deal with the county governments and municipal governments, it's kind of like trying to win the Kentucky Derby with a 5-legged racehorse.
1,000%. Absolutely.
It becomes quite a challenge.
We love that challenge. We absolutely love it. That's we've been trained for years and years as TV producers trying to get the impossible done. So we know how to get this done.
But it's also those are the different layers of everybody of all the road too. You know what I mean? That actually leads to us meeting all the different people that have skin in the game or have a care for the road. So it works.
So this is kind of a Mission Impossible thing.
We accept.
More
we
puns.
Accept. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Dang, this could go on. This is bad. I've got Liz here was asking about Illinois. Do you have a location in mind for Illinois?
We don't. Illinois has such good stretches as well of Route 66. They're very passionate about their road there, and we're speaking to them. They initially came back. Can we have three? And we're like, yeah, no problem at all. But they're working through their end of what they need to put together to make that happen. So we don't have a location. If anyone has a favorite location in Illinois, we would like to hear about it because we need that like boots on the ground, common kind of feeling of where does it want to go, where feels natural to the people of Illinois, and that's where we want to look.
Wow, there's a thought that comes to my mind. There's a section. It's probably a mile, 2 miles long. It runs through a cornfield,
Great.
and it's a concrete highway with no shoulders. So putting in a rumble strips would probably be helpful because they need a shoulder. And it's already kind of there's an oddball attraction at one end of this, and turkey tracks. There are actual turkey tracks in the original concrete, and so people from all over find this section of Route 66 out in the cornfield to see the turkey tracks.
You're going to have to educate me there, Jim. Turkey tracks.
Yeah. So at the other end, you could have turkey tracks at one end and a musical highway at the other end. Could kind of turn that into a destination.
Wait, I'm not sure what a turkey track is.
Yeah.
Well, it's literally the bird, the turkey, ran through the concrete when the highway was being paved. Now they've got a sign and a little cutout of a turkey there, and you'll show up and there'll be 30 cars lined up along the road, people taking pictures of turkey tracks in the highway. It's kind of odd.
That's amazing.
Route 66 continues to bring people together.
And another, well, that's a good idea. Thank you. Lauren just asked me if we'd, since you're talking about Missouri, there's perhaps Louis Keene. I hadn't thought of Louis Keene. Oh my. Louis Keene is on a section of Route 66 that parallels I-44 in Missouri. It's a pretty straight stretch of road, and he's created quite the roadside attraction, the Arenas Fudge Company and General Store. And yes, juvenile humor reigns supreme there, as you might guess. That's pretty interesting. That might be a great section of Route 66 to consider.
Great, absolutely. Well, this is all beautiful food for us. We love it.
Guys, thank you so very much. And I want to thank everybody who joined us this morning and for getting engaged. And we'll have this posted this afternoon. I'll share a link with Chris and Pete. And I'll do a blog post about this before I leave for Tulsa. And we'll make sure you got their website, Route66musicalroads.com. We'll get this all put together and see if we can give this project a bit of a boost.
Love it.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from each and every one of you and speaking to you again soon, Jim.
Pete, Chris, thank you so very much for taking time this morning.
Have a great day in Tulsa.
Yeah, you bet. Hey, since we're getting this thing off, this is a great time since we're talking road trips. I guess if we have no more questions, I'll bid you adios with this neat little tune from our friends in Nashville, Joe and Woody and the boys of the Road Crew, roadcrew66.com. Until we meet again, my friends, I will bid you adios and via con Dios. So let's
See you down the road.
Take this out with this little tune from the Road Crew.
Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a 2-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.
I hope to see everyone next week in Tulsa at the Road Fest. And if not, perhaps on the road, we can get together for a piece of pie, a cup of coffee. And if you do find me, bring your books along. I have no problem defacing them with a signature. We'll see you soon, my friends. Adios. Chris, Pete, you take care, my friends.
And you.
You as well.